Welcome
to the Kinetic Life Podcast, brought to you by Kinetic Renew.
This podcast is dedicated to helping you find your way to your dreams, your goals, and your success. We'll be fueling that with key information on topics like health, science, tech, and lifestyle, coated with a few laughs along the way.
In this episode, a quote from Michael's favorite movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, and a discussion on success. Dream to reality, a few things you didn't know about Shark Tank's Daymond John. The difference between being a dreamer, having a dream, and taking action. Let's sleep on it. We begin the subject of sleep with insomnia and a few natural supplements that may help you fall asleep. Plus, a few helpful success tips and tricks to help you on your journey. And now we begin. Here's Michael Chalavutis and Dr. Mark Hertzberg.
Welcome back to another episode of Kinetic Life. It's a great day for a great day. As always, I'm Mike Chalavutis, and I'm here with my compatriot, Dr. Mark Hertzberg.
Hail and good cheer.
I always like to start out with a good quote of the day, which I'm not sure if this actually was said in real life, but it was said in one of my favorite movies, The Wolf of Wall Street, by the main character, Jordan Belfort. The only thing standing between you and your goals is the BS story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. What do you think, Mark?
Well, it's kind of a time factor in this, in perspective. There are those who say that the only thing that keeps most people going is the self-image and the excuses, the story about their life they tell themselves in their head. The problem with that is when you haven't achieved something, when people blame the world, blame everyone, yes.
The world blames the world.
A lot of people would be suicidal if they couldn't take what's happened and what is up until now and give themselves a story that makes them feel okay with it. The problem is when you use that for going forward. When you make too many excuses about why things are bad, you also say you have no way of getting rid of the outside influences you blame everything on, so you give up. And we get back to those who think they can't.
It's very true. It's always the reason why, and going back to the Confucius quote from a while back, those who think they can't, or they find a reason why they can't. And those BS excuses are the only reason why you can't start a new job, why you can't either move up, why you can't get yourself out of debt, why you can't start a company. I'd almost even say it's a safety blanket. An excuse is like having a cast on a leg that's not broken. You find a reason why you can't, do something. It's a comfort zone. It's not wanting to get out of your comfort zone because the excuse helps keep you there.
I was definitely going to say something in the middle of that, but I was paying too much attention to you, and kaboom! What happened to what I was going to say?
Did he forget what he was going to say?
Something about...
He forgot, huh?
The story we tell ourselves.
What happened to his mind?
Okay, it's not going to come until I stop trying to think of it.
Uh-oh.
That is the problem, that when you go in these circles with this, sometimes you have to hang up the phone to remember what you wanted to say.
Well, now you're making excuses of why you can't remember.
You go.
Well, that was weird, but fun. It's ironic how we often forget the things worth remembering, but remember the things worth forgetting. Author unknown.
Okay, while I made you talk, I had time to review everything I thought of in my mind and replay the entire thing, and now I know what I was going to say. I better shut up and say it before I forget it again.
We lost him.
Yeah, well, I'm amusing me, and that's all that really counts. If you can amuse yourself, everything was funny. When you're telling these stories, most of it involves how this worked against me and that worked against me and he and she and they worked against me. And one thing you have to step back and realize, sheer chance, entropy, the universe works against everything. So you're part of everything. Sheer chance doesn't tend to make things better. Most things accidentally get worse. So you either look at once you're saying I'm blaming everything else, you're saying I'm the puppet controlled by all the outside forces. What you want to be is Don Quixote. I am the hero challenging the outside forces, and I'm going to conquer them.
Yeah, and I guess also, I mean, going back to the whole universe and entropy, and you could even say that just the law of large numbers, the more times you try something, you keep making excuses and give up. The more times you continue to try, eventually you will succeed to some extent. You know, you buy the lotto enough times, there's a higher chance you're going to actually get a chance of winning compared to not buying at all. Or even going to the whole Gretzky shot thing, the more shots you take, 100% of the shots you don't take won't go in.
Well, with the one thing you should say about the lottery, which is to actually get your odds to the point where it favors winning, you have to spend a lot more than will be won.
Very
so
true.
if you have $1 billion to invest in winning 100 million, the odds are a little bit better than 50-50 that you'll succeed. But I said Don Quixote, and the one thing about that is he was insane. So sometimes not the best example.
It's a fine line between genius and insanity, though.
But a lot of when you talk about everything works against you and challenging it, a good example, maybe better than Don Quixote, is our friend Batman, who it said he doesn't have a superpower except he has one, which is why he's prevailed against enemies who stopped all the superpowered superheroes, which is he never gives up. It's willpower is his superpower. And nothing stops him. He will keep going till he succeeds. There's probably a reason that he's a billionaire also.
I thought he inherited the billions, though.
Depending which version of the thing, he inherited a lot of money and turned it into billions. But even in any of the things, he generally increases it. Even if it's really Shakespearean, the front of being a lazy playboy in some of them, behind the scenes, he's doing well.
Very true. From an aside, when you said Batman, I really thought you said Pac-Man, and I was very confused on where you were going, how Pac-Man has a superpower.
Only when he eats the right color pill.
Yeah, insatiable appetite for white dots.
And then he can eat ghosts. I think Bill Murray would consider that a superpower.
Maybe on the next Ghostbusters, we'll bring Pac-Man in as with the fifth member.
Yeah. I think we have written a story here. I think we should shut up and take it to them directly.
We're sponsored by KINETIQ Renew. KINETIQ Renew is a 4-ounce shot of all natural ingredients that deliver some amazing benefits, like improved mental clarity, long and short-term focus, and improved memory and cognition. Plus, KINETIQ Renew improves mood with the added benefits of anti-stress and anti-anxiety. KINETIQ Renew provides antioxidants and neuroprotection, and all this with no caffeine, no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors, and it's only 5 calories. KINETIQ Renew is what you drink to arrive focused and alert, and you won't get that caffeine or sugar crash. Go to kineticlife.com and use promo code POD1 for a special 30% discount. POD and the number 1, POD1. The 30% off is for a limited time only, so log on now to save. Kineticlife.com. That's KINETIQ life.com now. Do it now. Log on now. Give it a try. You're going to love it.
A good story that I've heard that I think this quote kind of fits in is having, kind of stop telling you BS excuses and have some, take the leap of faith, if you want to say. Is about Daymond John, who's the founder of FUBU, and most of you know him as being on Shark Tank. He had a vision of building his own fashion brand, but instead of just having a vision, he took his dream to a reality and took the leap of faith. He took some advice from the local people in his community about kind of starting his own money, raising his own money. But the big thing, he had no idea actually how to take what he developed and take it to the next level, even from getting pre-orders and having some initial success, because he actually didn't have the wherewithal of, filling out bank loans, and he kept getting rejected for bank loans. And he ended up mortgaging his own house, turning half of his house into a production facility. And that's how he got started in really taking the brand to the next level. And, fast forward a couple of years later, by 1998, he was grossing over $350 million a year. And this is a guy that, could barely get the company going. It had some initial success, but, even when he got the pre-orders, it'd be like, I think he had got like $300,000 in pre-orders, but he couldn't fulfill it. How do you produce? How do you get it going? You need an investor. And, not everyone has the wherewithal of either getting a bank loan or just, calling up, Daddy Warbucks and asking for money. He mortgaged his house, turned half of his house to a production facility. I'm not sure how the rest of the family felt about that.
Or the bank that had the mortgage.
No, the bank that had the mortgage, they should probably give him the money. They didn't really care what he was doing with it. But he took the leap of faith. And, it's taking your excuses and your dreams and, putting excuses aside and taking that step to turn your dream into reality. Now, whatever it may be, in this situation, he had a brand of, a vision of owning his own fashion brand. And from what I know, he was very hesitant to spend his money for a long time, knowing how fickle fashion is and how quick it could change, which is smart. You see all these people, the first time they see success, they blow all their money thinking the gravy train's never going to end. But a really smart individual, someone I would love to meet one day and just, love to chat with.
Maybe get him on a podcast.
Maybe one day we'll get him.
The word dream comes up a lot, and
vision, dream.
Now we're going to get biblical as the little discussion between Jacob and Joseph and all the brothers going. There is a difference between having a dream and being a dreamer. That if you have a dream of something that becomes a goal and you chase that dream to dream the impossible dream, that's good for motivation. When you just sit around imagining how great it would be, just a dreamer, it ain't going to happen.
You're not going anywhere. One is sitting there and I guess almost was like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's all in his head and he's sitting there doing nothing. The other's actually getting out there and...
Right. You have to make the dream come true. You can't keep dreaming till it happens.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeeded. Michael Jordan.
Believe in yourself, take the excuses, put them aside. Every journey begins with that first step. Or leap, in this case, leap of faith.
Well, we'll leave that leap alone, and I'm going to go back to what you said right before that. So don't leap away from where I'm going. I think we should also, you have to make a separation between excuses and explanations. When you fail, you really need to analyze it. And you have to explain and understand why you failed. That includes saying, I did this when I should have done that. I did this because that seemed logical, or that's even what experts said to say, but it didn't work. Or this outside thing affected it. And you got to keep that fine line between excuse and explanation. Because once you start saying, it wasn't my fault, I have an excuse, this outside thing affected it, you start messing up. What you got to say is it's an explanation. Outside things will affect it. That's going back to don't be the puppet, be the champion challenging. You say, assuming that's going to happen again, what can I do? How can I be prepared to make sure that doesn't pull the rug out from under me the next time?
Sometimes it's, I should have done A instead of B. And other times it could be, as they always say in contracts, a force majeure, an act of God, something crazy happens in that situation. Okay, well, you still pick yourself up and you try again.
If the universe is always picking on you, maybe it means you're its favorite. Well, that would be me, but you could be the second favorite.
There's a silver lining in anything. So if you want to look at it that way,
I'm that important that the entire universe is
out
based
to get you
on toying with me.
Yeah, it sounds actually a great plot for a movie.
I want to cast myself in the lead. I want to play me in this movie.
Opportunities don't happen. You create them. Author unknown. It's never too late to be what you might have been. Author unknown. You pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud too. That's part of it. Denzel Washington. The best way to guarantee a loss is to quit. Morgan Freeman.
What it really comes down to is taking action. As I mentioned before, I don't care if it's weight loss, getting out of debt, starting a business, learning something new. Go back and get your degree, or just look, we are blessed with the power of the internet at our fingertips and our cell phone, laptops, tablets, wherever you may be. Teach yourself something new. You have everything from YouTube to just the general internet to find something. Teach yourself, find out what the next steps are. It's much easier to take action this day and age than maybe my parents or grandparents. They didn't have this knowledge there. You could do online courses. You have the ability to figure out what it takes to start your own business or learn something, or, lose weight, whatever it may be, online courses, pamphlets. I don't care. The most important thing is you actually get yourself up and you do something about it. No more, as Mark put it, daydreaming. Become a dreamer, set a goal, take action, start that step. And I'm not talking just, New Year's resolution, because those New Year's resolutions last for about, 2-3 weeks, and then they kind of slowly fade away. Keep her going and keep setting that goal. Look, I've always been told, it's nice to have that end goal, that's so far away. And then let's use losing weight as an example. You want to lose 20 pounds, you look at the 20-pound mark as being a success. 2-pound increments. The first 2 pounds, okay? Celebrate. Next 2 pounds. Celebrate.
I gained 5 pounds at the celebration for losing 2 pounds.
Yeah. Oh, well, no. Wrong direction. Take action, but celebrate the little victories, because let's be honest, every day your breathing is a victory. The little victories in help keep you sane on that step to that huge end goal.
Well, in the idea of give yourself little victories, number one, when you make a to-do list, first thing you write at the top is make a to-do list. That way, when you finish it, you can go cross. I did something. I made a to-do list. Same thing. I got tired of every resolution, New Year's resolution, because you're not making it because you really have a resolution. You're making it because, it's accustomed to make these resolutions in New Year. So one year I made a resolution never to make another New Year's resolution, and so far I've kept to it.
So you can cross it off the list.
So I can pat myself on the back.
You're not wrong with making a list to cross things off. I've seen it before where, you put even simple tasks on there to cross off just so you have a little bit of semblance of success, accomplishment. You've gotten something done.
And that's a lot of things. One of the mindsets of people who succeed is, I'm going to give you an idea. Why do certain things distract you? Let's say you're on the computer working on a project, and you've worked, and you're going, okay, I need a break, and you play a game of solitaire. And you wind up going, I played 47 games of solitaire for 6 hours. It's not even that entertaining. And I didn't overload. And I started because 10 minutes of working on something. And the difference is each time you win a game, and I'm talking the solitaires where it's skill, not the pure chance, is you get to, I accomplished, I won, I beat it right now, reward, as opposed to I'm working on this, so 10 years from now things will be better. You just have to get into the mindset of when I do that half hour or 2 hours right now, I congratulate myself for that little task. I was successful at it. That is a brick in the skyscraper I'm building for 10 years. I have done something. You got to feel that way and see it now.
Oh, I agree. That if you without that little success, it's hard to get. Little victories, it's hard to get to the end goal. And it's something as simple of, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes of work on this, knowing that it's going for a greater cause. And after that 30 minutes of work, I'm going to treat myself with, I don't know, that game of solitaire, a snack, whatever it is. And then you go back to it. And even 30 minutes of work every night, it adds up over time. And then you start seeing the bigger success from it.
And to be a little bit of a shill for our sponsor, when trying to keep my attention on something that might be boring at 2 a.m, but it's got to be done, and I drink the KINETIQ, I'm drinking this now so I can be drinking champagne out of a movie star's slipper down the road.
You can mix it with champagne now, too. It might pair nicely. I have yet to try it.
Oh, well, I'm going back to one thing, something I did a long time ago that didn't wind up being a massive success. Strange as that might seem, but the first time I wound up, when I wound up with a ton of time in my hands because some projects I was helping with didn't pan out, and I had a lot of time on my hands because I was scheduled to be working on these things for these people, and I wrote my first book, which has been called The Single Most Complicated Thing Ever Written on Earth. And one of the things, because I know I can sometimes get a little too complicated, is I had several people reading it before it went and published. And we rewrote based on that, and all of them said, oh, I can understand it, right up until we printed. And then they go, when no one could understand it, well, what I meant by it's understandable, or if I know you, I understand it. But one of the things, the main character, who's a comedian superhero in this thing, he's being interviewed and he's asked, who are you really? How would you define yourself? And he's an almost godlike superhero. And the superhero goes, I am my future's past. And what he's saying is, everything, my real superpower is I figured out how the universe works, and that you prepare. Nothing is by chance. And if I want to be this in 5 years, I'd go, imagine myself in 5 years. Now, if that person is thinking who I was 5 years ago that led to him, I have to be that person now. So you have to go, what do I want to be? What do I want my life to be like? And who could be the earlier version of that person? And I have to be that now.
Oh, makes sense. That's, in that situation, it's being that person is everything from taking action to kind of changing your mindset. Goes back to excuses, everything from your mindset of excuses, what your thoughts, having goals, changing your lifestyle, and even, knowing that you can succeed. That's not, by removing that excuses and knowing you have a chance, but by taking action, it's changing your mindset, changing your lifestyle, changing everything, at least determining what needs to be changed and adjusted to get you where you wanted to be. What is that, like you said, what does that person 5-10 years from now look like? How are they carrying themselves? What is their mentality?
Right,
confident or?
But it's more, because I'm getting at it isn't quick, because everyone imagines I'll be that, I'll be James Bondish, I'll be Bruce Wayne-ish. The idea is, who were they beforehand that became that person? So, Bruce Wayne's an example going, I have to be the person who's in the alley when everyone gets shot and killed in front of me. So, you don't want to pre-plan that. But the idea is, he wasn't someone sitting around dreaming. No. If you're going to be that and again, when people put too much into the lottery, too much faith, not just too much money, and I think the lottery is more important for the idea that a lot of people who could be very depressed about life have this dream. They can't conceive of any way they could make a lot of money and have a great life, except winning the lottery. And that's why a lot of lottery winners are very depressed, even suicidal, because they imagine if they have a lot of money, everything would be wonderful, and they still have problems afterwards, sometimes different types. But the hope that if I win the lottery, everything will be great keeps lots of people going, which is fine. But if you actually are going to wait for the lottery, that's a dream. It isn't going to happen to too many people. You have to say, nah, I am not the person who's just going to keep myself sane by imagining I'll win the lottery. I have to go, if I want to have that money, what can I actually do that would actively make me become that person? And it's not sitting around hoping I'm the one who picks the right numbers.
Take action. No more dreaming.
The elevator to success is out of order. You'll have to use the stairs one step at a time. Joe Girard. Work until your bank account looks like a phone number. Author unknown. Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Winston Churchill. Perfection is not attainable, but if we choose perfection, we can catch excellence. Vince Lombardi.
One thing we kind of want to talk about, at least get the start to it, is sleep. And that's obviously, sleep is a very umbrella term, a lot that goes into sleep. We all know it's important. And we're talking, I'm talking to one of the leading brilliant insomniacs, so he could probably shed some light on it. But so Mark, why is sleep so important? Besides the fact I know if I don't get enough sleep, I'm gonna look, pretty terrible and feel pretty terrible, and I can load up on all the caffeine and stimulants in the world. But at some point, my body's gonna say, "Time to go."
Well, you just asked an open-ended question, and I could actually sit here and talk for 11 or 12 hours just about sleep. So for a really good discussion, I think we should sleep on it now and have a beginning of a real discourse at some other time. But just to sum up a million things we're going to talk about later, maybe a million's hyperbole. 698,322 things we're going to talk about later.
A handful of things.
Big handful. I'll give an example. But I should say that I was literally born an insomniac. I can actually remember my father could be working, meetings and stuff, and come in midnight, close to midnight. And I can remember in the crib waiting. So I could remember him one time coming in, and I wanted to make sure everything was, in a crib saying for water as he came in late. I was up. I was not sleeping. I could tell people when I was 3 what was on TV shows late at night because I could hear through the whole. I did not sleep. I have read many, many books on sleep and stuff, and trying to explain my peculiar sleep patterns. So one thing, and again, I think I've said this before, I remember every fact or concept, but never who said it, when they said it, or this. So I'm a terrible bibliography of things. But this probably comes from a book I read in the 1990s.
Okay, so a while ago.
It's always been said that the immune system recharges at night, and if you don't get good sleep, you're not recharging your immune system. And some researchers in this book said that's an understatement. The immune system doesn't recharge when you sleep. It does 98% of its work while you're asleep. And they were talking about the immune system going through the body like a wave, cleaning things up. And I do know that there were a lot of examples then, but they were saying when you talk about the original AIDS crisis, and they were talking about certain types of people who were hit worse by it. And they're talking about lawyers and certain businessmen and a lot of Hollywood types.
They didn't sleep.
And that's it. These are people with terrible sleep. Very often you hear about a Hollywood or a rock star or something winding up in the hospital with exhaustion, going on 2 hours of sleep on tour for months, or a tough filming schedule. And they're saying, it wasn't so much that all of them were leading promiscuous lifestyles that were in more danger. It's that whatever they were exposed to, they were having so little sleep, they were terrible at physiologically dealing with.
That falls in line to when you're sick. The most important thing is food, water, and sleep. And you sleep for, like a baby. You're sleeping for hours at a time. You wake up, you eat breakfast, you go back to sleep when you're sick.
Well, I know when I'm fighting things off, because if I can fall asleep at a normal time, I'm fighting something off. And look at when they have these people who stay on these staying up marathons for 3-4 days and whatever, and An LSD trip is nothing compared to what has been recorded these people going through when the mind just snaps after this. I mean, there was a Roman torture where they would keep you up till you died.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but I don't lose sleep over it.
First, forget inspiration. Habit is more dependable. Habit will sustain you whether you're inspired or not. Habit will help you finish and polish your stories. Inspiration won't. Habit is persistence in practice. Octavia Butler.
So yeah, I mean, one of the things that we talked about, I guess, besides recharging an immune system, hence why if you don't get enough sleep, it ages you much quicker. And from a genetic level, something called telomeres, it reduces the size of your telomeres. The more the lack of sleep you get, the less sleep you get, the shorter your telomeres become.
Is that the right pronunciation? I always call them telomeres. When your chromosomes are, when a cell is reproducing, so you're constantly replacing damaged cells in your body. Every time they split, at the end of the chromosomes, there's like this wick of the candle. That's the telomere. And isn't really needed for anything else we know of, but it tends to shorten every time they split, and when it gets too short, they no longer can split, and that cell can't reproduce anymore.
Yeah, well, either the cell dies or you start actually losing pieces of important genetic code.
That hurts.
And there was a couple of studies that they looked at, doctors on the night shift and compared it to someone, working a traditional 9 to 5, and that at the same age, the doctors working, crazy hours had much shorter telomeres. As well as genetic mutation. I believe that the more mutational damage was increased for those lacking sleep as well, or at least reduction in genetic repair.
Well, you just said something that's going to trip my wire. But whenever they talk about the time that simply, number one, they're talking about doctors who, left to their own accord, would have a normal, what we'd call average sleep, where they sleep at night and up during the day. There are people who are just naturally nocturnal, and that wouldn't bother them at all. Also, they find it's more damaging because you will get used to the night shift, and this is really a problem for police, is when they go, okay, for the next 4 weeks, you're on night shift, then you're on day shift, then you're on the third shift. The shifting of shifts is really bad.
Because your body never has a chance to adjust.
It's always on the wrong shift for itself.
Oh, I agree. And I guess that kind of falls in line to my next thing. That's kind of not a one size fits all, from whether it's a time standpoint, sleeping at night, sleeping at night and being awake during the day, or vice versa, or in the case of getting, the magic number 8 hours of sleep or 7 to 9 hours of sleep, they always say is, depending on, your age and what's going on. That's not true for everyone. Some people need more or less sleep. There's something called an elite sleeper that did some study that people are genetically supposed to get more efficient sleep and only need 5 or 6 hours, and they're just as well off as someone that that gets 8 or 9 hours, that genetically different. This is a new article that I read recently. But as for time,
my guess would be with those, it's because when you really measure sleep, and they have the different phases of sleep, and there are a lot more phases than most people think.
Not just REM and deep
a
light
lot
sleep.
of the phases don't really help. So most of the work is done. So if you need 8 hours sleep, most of what you need probably happens in 4 or 5 hours. So my guess is elite sleepers just cut out the part that isn't as important.
All the little stages and the warm up, they just get straight to REM or whatever is the most important thing. And
that's also, okay, we can go down so many alleys with this. Number one, one day I want to talk about the quote-unquote clock, internal clocks in sleep. But there's also, with levels of sleep, but people don't realize it's also when someone says Well, I'll sleep on the plane. Unless you have a seat that lies down, it isn't going to help. Okay, because you are, I hope I pronounce this right, a brachiat, which means you are not really a creature meant to fly or swim or walk on all fours or even walk on all twos. You are meant to climb trees and live and move across them. We're somewhat changed from the, apes that are much better at it.
Yeah.
But all brachiates who sleep in trees can't fall into a deep sleep unless they're in a flat angle or nearly flat. And the reason is, if you begin falling, you want to be in a light sleep so you can catch yourself before you fall. That's why people driving, they have that instance where they're asleep and they kind of bang the stair and get up, because you fall into, when you're sitting, you'll fall into a light enough sleep that you very easy to wake up. That's why the last thing you go is sleep, up, tree, like. If you're at, in an easy chair, you can fall asleep and have a nap, but you will never go above the superficial light levels of sleep. You won't get the deep sleep for all the work is done.
So unless I'm flying and I'm paying like $8,000 for a sleeper seat, I will never be sleeping on a plane.
Right. So people can say I got three, but one of the things that I think is falsely attributed to jet lag is that people start counting, well, I had a 3-hour nap on the plane, it's not a nap like lying down in bed.
No.
Which can have, some of that 3 hours can be sleep, deep sleep.
You should close your eyes for 3 hours pretty much.
Yeah, but you're getting light sleep, but that's not really doing the deep work that sleep is needed for.
No, it makes sense. I mean, like the only time I really slept on a plane, I'm pretty sure, is like the red eye back from Vegas, at which point I think my body just shut down. Otherwise, no real sleep, half awake, kind of nodding off. But it makes sense. So more often than not, even though you half falling asleep and then they hit you with the cart. While the person next to you needs to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, the worst thing is when they come around with the food or meal or drink and they don't wake you up, and like 2 minutes later when they make noise picking up the trash.
Yeah, but they're not going to give you anything. Not that we've experienced that before. So, I mean, obviously we're going to get into much more detail on sleep in another episode. But one of the things I know that has always been a controversy is this whole screen time before sleep. And I know off air we spoke about this briefly. Most studies saying, don't have your cell phone on before bed, don't watch TV. I think there was a recent one that said, well, we're not really sure. It's about what time you watch the, TV before bed, and that's really not that bad. So what are your thoughts, Mark? Is screen time, does it make a difference? Is it more of the addictive, let me go look at my phone that's keeping you awake? Is it the actual cold blue light that's causing you?
Talking about the blue light in the clock, and I get a separate one because a lot of people with the eyes are going, do I need to be protected from the blue light with those? Now, most of the whole blue light protection thing was not started by scientific research saying, oh, yeah, we got to deal with it. It was started by someone who said, I can sell these sunglasses at 3 a.m. to people who aren't asleep. If I tell them that they block the blue, and that's the problem. And one reason that they now sell the clear ones that say, well, you don't need that orange, it's very distracting, because you just block 2 specific wavelengths of blue. Well, the real reason that came out is I think they sold the first one to everyone they're going to sell to. And since I'm always asked about it, I've been looking at a lot of research, and the best I can say is, as far as damage to vision, no one has ever found anything that really says it helps, but unlike a lot of fads, no one has found anything that says it hurts. So it's perfectly fine to do it if you think it's helping you. There is a school of thought that says it may help slow down development of cataracts, but no one's been able to do a study for 40 years, someone starting at 25.
To prove it.
To see 50, 60 years from there, if that works. But there are claims that it helps with insomnia. And I remember when the New York Jets went to play in London, not the last time, the time before that, 5 or 6 years ago, big article that they were all given the amber glasses. And by the way, with the computer, save your money. Just put it on night mode if you want that irritating orange color. That it was supposed to help with jet lag. Now, I think they meant jet lag like we all suffer, not jet lags when the jet players are too slow to tackle the other team. So I ordered one to see if that works, and for me, it did nothing. But when I did some research, it would help with a very particular type of insomniac. Okay, and that's one thing. People tend to think of insomnia as one thing, and there are a whole bunch of different things going on. So for this one type, it probably would help. And the blue screen, more blues hitting you is telling your clock not to let you go to sleep. But if you're not the one suffering for that, I don't know how much good it's doing. Again, it's harmless. So if people say it works for them, go for it.
I guess, yeah. Let's give it a try. Doesn't mean it's going to help everyone. Though I do know, at least I remember seeing 1 or 2 articles mentioning that certain wavelength of red light is supposed to improve.
Oh, are we going to get into that when we talk mitochondria?
Oh, okay.
But it's infrared, not red.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
The lights that you get, what you see is the red.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think they're talking a little bit on the infrared side.
spectrum. Okay.
For those who don't know, red is the lowest energy light that the human eye can see. So when you get just a little lower, they call it infrared. Just a little stronger than the most powerful light you see, the violet, you call ultraviolet.
Blue's at the top of the spectrum, red's at the bottom.
If you put it in that direction.
Yeah, well, I guess lower wavelength, higher energy. Yeah.
Or left it, Roy Gabiv.
Opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. Thomas Edison. Setting goals is the first step into turning the invisible into the visible. Tony Robbins. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. Steve Jobs.
Real quick, and we're going to talk about this in much greater detail once we do our full, extended discussion on sleep. But there are some sleep supplements out there, to help you sleep.
I'm immune to all of them.
Most common one is melatonin, though I know a lot of people, from what I was told, don't take it correctly. They take it right before bed when you're not supposed to take it right before bed. I believe you're supposed to take it like 2 hours before you go to sleep. Is that correct, Mark?
I've actually looked it up, and I couldn't find a definitive thing. But you know what that reminds me of? Something I read about caffeine 100 years ago. They were saying caffeine at lunch is good, but people who take way too much caffeine early in the day, sometimes it causes insomnia. Worse than caffeine after dinner. And they're going because it's not that the caffeine is that strong at saying, I won't let you go to sleep. It's that when you take it too early in the day, it jolts you awake and puts you ahead of your clock. You should be gradually getting more energetic and have highs and lows naturally during the day. And at lunch, the caffeine is accentuating a natural high point. But when you take too much too early, you're discombobulating the clock. And that can show up way after that caffeine's out of your system,
So don't have
when you go to
caffeine
sleep.
Midday.
No. They said the midday caffeine was better. They say when you have too much too early to jolt yourself awake.
Oh, so don't have 6 cups of coffee before 10 a.m.
Yeah, they were saying like if you first get up at 7 and you pour 3 cups of coffee down,
that's more detrimental late night.
This could be upsetting the clocks. And again, an article a long time ago, so there could have been follow-up revising that. But the idea that it's not simply what it does right now, but how it plays with your own clock settings. And that's what melatonin is trying to do.
And that's why I think taking it out of rhythm.
And that's what the blue light, they worry that it disrupts.
Bringing it full circle. Thank you, Mark. Another one, actually, that people know about is L-glycine, an amino acid. Cheap. You could buy it. I believe everything I've read about like 3 grams. And this doesn't help you fall asleep, but it's supposed to improve sleep quality. And from someone that tried it himself, it actually does a pretty good job.
Oh, then make me a batch.
Oh, that I can.
But that's also one thing, because when people when they go, I took melatonin and it didn't work, I did this, it didn't work, and then they take really strong sedatives, you're more unconscious than asleep.
Oh, just straight knocks you
So
out.
you could be knocked. So you miss the suffering of tossing and turning and being anxious about it, but it's not really a good rest.
Also, I think there's falling asleep and then sleep quality. And that's why I think glycine doesn't help improve sleep quality, but if you never get to sleep, it's not going to help you so much there. Another somewhat natural alternative is gamma aminobutyric acid, which your body naturally produces, but you can get it as a supplement, and it's supposed to kind of help you fall asleep. By itself, it's actually what they call a neurotransmitter inhibitor. So it kind of helps calm that brain down a little bit.
Stops you from thinking.
Yep. In a simple terms, yes.
I think, therefore I am. So if I have too much GABA, I ain't.
Ooh. And the last one is an extract of saffron, which we actually use in our KINETIQ Renew. The saffron extract, Afrin, has been shown in a couple studies to improve sleep quality. So, you could have your Renew late night, stay focused, and when you actually go to bed, you'll fall asleep and you'll feel great in the morning because you just said improved sleep quality. But again, like all things, everyone's body's different, so it doesn't mean what might work for you might not work for someone else. And before you try any new supplement, whether it's glycine, GABA, or whatever, before you add it to your routine, always speak to your physician. I don't want to get yelled at for putting you on something that doesn't work well for you. So everyone's body's different, and I don't know what's going to work with you. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Come back to us next time as we'll be expanding our
Splaining? You got splaining to do, Lucy.
It's explaining and expanding. It's expanding our discussion on sleep to the next level. As you can see, Dr. Hertzberg is
I answered to hate you.
very well versed in sleep, and it's something that's, I'd say, important to all of us, because if you're not getting enough of it,
I'm up nights thinking about insomnia.
we're all looking to improve ourselves in one way, shape, or form, and it starts in taking care of yourself from internally, externally. In this case, maybe getting a few extra hours of sleep will go a long way.
Can I give a teaser? I'm going to, so I guess I can. In our future talk of sleep, we're going to address a question a completely different way than everyone has ever addressed it when they ask, why do we need to sleep that much?
I'm excited, Mark. Until next time.
Everyone stay riveted.
We're sponsored by KINETIQ Renew. KINETIQ Renew is a 4-ounce shot of all natural ingredients that deliver some amazing benefits, like improved mental clarity, long and short-term focus, and improved memory and cognition. Plus, KINETIQ Renew improves mood with the added benefits of anti-stress and anti-anxiety. Here's what people are saying.
I drink a bottle of KINETIQ Renew, and I'm in a better mood. It's like waking up on the right side of the bed. It's great.
My mental focus is clearly better.
I do notice that I have better clarity. Definitely improves my mood for sure. It reduces my stress.
Visit KINETIQLife.com today, KINETIQ Life.com, and try it. Use promo code POD1 for 30% off. That's POD and the number 1, POD1, for a limited time 30% discount. Log on, give it a try. You're going to like it. Thank you for listening to the KINETIQ Life podcast. Catch a new show every other Thursday. You'll find us on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify and everywhere else you can listen to a podcast. And remember, be safe, have fun, and go for your dreams. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. All comments, jokes, views, and ideas expressed are those of the hosts or guests and do not represent any company or organizations with whom they may be affiliated. Always make sure to consult your own physician before starting any new diet, supplement, or exercise routine. There's one more thing. If you're working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. Steve Jobs.